Hi, everybody. Welcome. Namaste. All right, I'm going to scoot back just a little bit. Sitting right in the sun. Hope you are all well. Just give me 1 second here. Try to do this. Okay, let's try that. Got my sparkles on again this week. Hi, Jen. Thanks for being here. So welcome, everybody. I decided today, there we go. I decided today that I was going to take a break from the court cards, and next week we're going to go back and have a look at the knights and the kings and the relationship between the fathers and sons. And so tonight I'm going to share with you some tarot books and I've got piles and piles of books here. I don't know how much we're going to get through, but we'll have some fun with that. So yeah, I hope you're all doing well. And yeah, so thank you. And thank you for your comments this week. Thank you for donations. And thank you to those of you who showed up to my yoga classes. It's been small groups, but really lovely. And I've enjoyed teaching it on Zoom. And I think eventually I will probably do some classes and some meditations on my YouTube page, but I'm just kind of working out all of the logistics with that. Because if you have to go up and down and move around, it's a little trickier than just sitting in front of the camera. So I thought I would start with a couple of viewer questions. And I want to invite you tonight to, if you have any particular questions for me. Hi, Tamsin. Thanks for being here. If you have questions that you would like to ask me as a reader or personally, I'm happy to answer any of your questions tonight as well too. But there's two questions that I haven't gotten back to in various forms through comments and also requests. And the whole idea with the tarot books was also a reader request. So the two questions that I'm going to deal with first, one of them does relate to the court cards. And I believe it was from Kyle Liz, but forgive me if I've got the wrong name. And that was in a reading. What happens in a reading when you have 2 or 3 court cards or 4 court cards, multiple court cards, especially if it's a small spread? What in the world do you do when there's so many faces looking at you in a reading? And so I'm going to actually throw that out there to you as well too. And I look forward to reading your feedback in the comments later, because I think this is a very real problem for us reading court cards, and some people have an easier time dealing with the courts. And so that's one of the reasons I've been going through very slowly over the last few weeks, trying to just look at some of the nuances with all of the cards. So I'm just going to say hi to, I saw somebody else pop in here. It's Tamsin. I have said hi to Tamsin. So when there is a bunch of different faces in the reading, I think it makes for a really dynamic reading. And I actually have come to a place where I like it when the court cards show up. And of course, there was a time when I just didn't know what to do. And I think we all go through that phase because they can be really, really challenging. So the first thing that I do when I see court cards in a reading is I look at the way that they're facing, because that can speak volumes. Because certain aspects of self, and remember I've said this before many times, is that the court cards can very well represent other people in your life, but those other people are mirroring back to you what you need to see within yourself. So if it's easier to think about it as other people in your life, that's fine. But ultimately, it's the same thing. It's going to be something about yourself. So first of all, are they facing in? Are they facing out? Are they paying attention to the central card, the most important card? Or are their backs to that card? because the way that people are facing or aspects of yourself are facing is going to tell you a lot about the relationship with that aspect of yourself to the particular question. It's really important to ask questions. I find the kind of reading where it's just like, what's my energy today? Or that kind of question, that kind of reading can be really challenging. So get in the habit of making good questions. And then so when the court cards appear, have a look at whether they're paying attention or they're not paying attention. So that's the first thing that I do. And then I like to have a little conversation. So I think we did this before. I did a single interview with some of them. And now I'm in a really, you're going to have to bear with me while the sun changes here. I'm going to scoot over here. There we go. Have a conversation with the cards. So let the mother and the daughter talk to each other. Let the two sisters talk to each other. Let the uncles and the brothers talk to each other, and invite a conversation. Like, what is it they really want to either ask each other, or what is it they need to say to each other? Because there's something about all those, there's a reason all those people are showing up. They have a message for you. And so you can relate that to people in your family, people in your circle, people that are around you. And just, have this little conversation with them and ask them, what is it that they want you to know? And then be quiet for a little bit, because I find sometimes we just, especially in the mind, right? We just keep yammering on and on and on, and we don't sit quietly. So the next thing that's really, really important, and if you're reading for yourself, the tendency is that we don't write down our readings in full sentences. And I think if you take the time to go through the reading and write out your impressions in full sentences, or the Knight of Wands says such and such, or the Page of Cups or the Princess of Cups looks like she's talking to her brother, the Knight of Cups, and to actually write out the conversation and say what they're saying to each other, and force yourself to create the full sentences. Now, you don't have to write it down. You can do this aloud, but actually going through the exercise of writing out or speaking the full sentences as if you were delivering the reading to somebody else can force you to see things or to say things that you might just be dithering around with inside your head. So those are all kind of really important tips. Hi, Michelle. Nice to see you here. Oh, that's a sweet thing. I appreciate it. So Michelle is here. So I hope, Kyle, Liz, that brings a little bit of clarity when you watch this back. I don't know. How about you guys? How do you feel? Like, is it overwhelming when a whole bunch of court cards show up in a reading, or do you like the interplay? Do you like the exchange between them? How does it feel? I like to, choosing a good deck can really help. So if you're struggling, I guess the other thing is to choose a deck where you really feel the court cards. You understand the energy of the court cards. Like the deck I used in the readings the last couple of times I was live, that Way Home Tarot deck, even though they're in silhouette, there's all kinds of stuff going on inside their bodies. And I find that is probably the latest tarot deck that I have acquired where I really have been enjoying working with the court cards. So that's definitely something that is important. So if you are working with a new deck and you're not familiar with them, then maybe take the time to get to know them before you actually start reading with them. Yeah. Okay, so the other question, and I should look and see what you guys have to say about this. Jen says, I think it depends on the question. Sometimes more than one can really tell the story, but for other questions, it leaves me overwhelmed. Yeah. So treating your own readings like you were reading for somebody else can be really, really helpful. But get the court cards talking, and remember that aspect, the fact that it might be Uncle Bob that's showing up in the reading, but Uncle Bob is reflecting back an aspect of yourself. So you can say, what is it that I'm not seeing in myself? Or what aspect of myself do I need to nurture? What is it about your character? Because each of the court cards possesses many, many different qualities. So really reflecting on those kind of questions can help too. So the second question, and I'm sorry I didn't write down the reader's name. I will post this also on my Crow Tarot video, because that's where it came from. And the viewer was asking about this book. So this is the extra enhanced guidebook. And her question was whether it was worth it. And I think I've seen this on Amazon. I'm not sure. I ordered it directly from MJ soon after, right around the time that the deck went to mass market. So in the Crow Tarot, you get this little white book with the colored cover. And I'm going to look and just kind of compare these two. If you haven't seen this book, it's quite a thick little book. And I'm going to show you some similar decks that have the same thing. So the short answer is yes, it's definitely worth it. If you enjoy books, and I enjoy books, and I enjoy understanding what's going on in the creator's head, what they're thinking as they're working. One of my big questions here, and this comes up in several different books we'll look at tonight, is that the message in these two books is quite different. The language is different. It's not a cut and paste from this book to this book. There's completely different descriptions, different keywords, different sentences. And so let's go to, I was going to go to one of the ones we looked at. Well, let's go to King of Swords. So this is what you get in the book. So for all of the cards, you get 2 pages. And she tells a little story. The King of Swords is the wise old crow that takes its time and listens. It withholds judgment until satisfied that all necessary information has been provided to ensure the best and most sustainable outcome prevails. So you get this kind of story about the King of Swords, Crow. And then there's a short general message and positive, negative information, symbolism, and past and present and advice position. So there's quite a bit of content for each of the crows. And if we turn to the little white book, I will show you exactly what you get. So for the King of Swords, you get this paragraph here. So you get this paragraph, and then that many words on the next page. So it's I guess what she did for the US Games book. And I don't know, kind of what order these came in, whether she started with a short description and then expanded and wrote this book, or whether this book came first and then MJ wrote the shorter version. So it's definitely not a cut and paste. You get a different layer, a different aspect of every single one of the cards. And if you go to the front, there's some really cool things. So at the front of the big book, I'm really sorry about the light tonight. There's a page on the color symbolism and the general symbolism, which you don't get in the little white book. And then she has this really interesting, so it's 1, 2, 3, 4. She tells a little story about the major arcana, and then she takes you on a journey through the majors and just kind of, tells the fool's journey. So that's really, it's kind of it's a cool way to introduce yourself, right, to the crows, especially if you don't work with animal decks and you're new to an animal deck and you're getting comfortable with it. Having a book like this, definitely worth it. So when I was thinking about that, so I'm just looking to see. I didn't know there was a full guidebook, Jen says. Thompson, Sadhana, I brought your book that you quoted from in The Queens, The Yoga of Relationships. And wow, that book is really opening up my eyes. Very touching. Yeah, that's a really special book. I'm surprised that you got it so quickly. I've ordered it for a few people and it seems to can take forever to get. That book is called The Yoga of Relationships. And it's a really interesting book for looking at how we can see ourselves in others and all the relationships that are around us. Okay, so what I was getting at was, because I got so many books on the table here, I'm actually going to put them on the floor. So here's another example. So the Osho Zen Tarot, this book comes with quite a nice little guidebook. And this one, just like the Crow Tarot, the information in this guidebook has hugely expanded interpretations, stories, and information. And so it is not a rehash at all. You get something completely different and above and beyond, which comes with the guidebook. And I think for some decks, the extra guidebook offers that. And then for other decks, it doesn't. So here's an example. The Urban Tarot. So I did not. Okay, so can you bear with me? I'm just going to open the blinds again so I'm not in the dark here. Sorry about this, guys. I may have to change my location. Okay, now you're going to see stripes on my face, but that's okay. I did not get in on the first edition of the Urban Tarot. And I was really interested in this deck, and it was out of print for a while, and the extra book was still available. And so I ordered the book because I wanted to learn more about it. And there was a few of the cards that I was really intrigued with. The one in the bathtub comes to mind, different things like that, like this one, the High Priestess card in the bathtub. And so I don't know what the guidebook was like, or the little white sheet that came with in the first edition of this book. But I have to say that when US Games reprinted, it was an indie deck, and then it came out as a US Games. The US Games version is really, really good. You get pretty much every single word that is in this larger guidebook. So in this case, I would say no, it's not necessary, because you have everything you need in the smaller version of the guidebook. It's just a, smaller font, and pretty much everything is there. So I think when you're asking this kind of question, it's really important to do your research and to reach out to people who have the other guidebook. Some people really like books, and for me, I'm one of them. I really, really do. I'm just going to kind of go through and stay with this theme. I'm going to go, so I've divided my books into a few different piles, and I'm just going to carry on with the ones that are supplements to decks, and then I'm going to move to different books. If you have a question for me, make sure you do put it in caps. Hi, Nora. Nice to have you here tonight. Okay, so Next on the pile, my favorite. You know, I'm probably going to always have, this will always be a favorite deck of mine, but I feel like I've really given it a good go, and I'm not using it as much these days. This is such a brilliant guidebook because you get both the lily white and the lily black cards side by side throughout the book. And I don't know if you know this, but these two decks are not exactly the same. There's subtle nuances in some of the cards, like the paintings are quite different. And I actually think the artist, like originally I thought that when she created this deck, she took the artwork to a certain point, and then I don't know what I was thinking. It became the white deck, and then somehow she transformed it to the dark deck. But I think actually these are two different, completely different pieces of artwork. So she created 78 times 2, for the most part. I really feel that, cards. So when you order the lily white or the lily black with the cards, you get a cheat sheet. So you get keywords, several keywords for each of the cards. And in Celia's guidebook, the stories, the expressions, the language that she uses is so beautiful. And if you don't read French, you just need, well, I suppose you need to have a little bit of French to work with it, because otherwise it's completely overwhelming. The guidebook is only available in French. But I have found this, it's really beautiful. And I take my time. Like I'm not going to read the whole guidebook because my French it's okay, but it's not that great. And I do use Google Translate, and I really like this. So, and everything I say tonight, I'm not, I never ever want to put down a deck creator, especially, any deck creator, because so much work goes into creating these books. And I feel that some deck creators just have they're better at one thing than another. Like not all deck creators are eloquent writers, and they attempt to write the guidebook on their own. So this is one that comes to mind. And when you order the Sawyer's Path Tarot, which you can get, by the way, on Printer Studio, not through her Etsy shop anymore, you get a PDF version of this book. And I see Jamie's also created a journal, which looks really interesting. And the reason that I ordered this was because I like to actually print all of my PDFs, and I put them into a spiral bound book. I have one that has 5 or 6 different oracle decks in it, like the Oracle of Echoes and Land Sky Oracle. And so I tend to save a few of them, and then I get them spiral bound. But this one I actually purchased, and I should have really gone through the PDF first. So this one and this one is The Stolen Child, I would say are not worth it. Now, granted, they weren't expensive, but there's nothing extra that comes in these printed volumes than you get in the PDF. And so I don't know, there's a part of me that thinks when you print a book, there should be something extra or not. I don't know. Anyway, so I would say not worth the money of buying the print. The PDF was fine. And then, there's books like this one. Karen, I should actually stop and just have a look. There's a few things here. The booklet that comes with the Crow Tarot is a white booklet very small again. The Crow Tarot. Do you mean the indie version of the Crow Tarot? Because this is the one I got with the US Games version of the deck. So, I mean, it is a little white book, but yeah. It's definitely fleshed out. Sorry, I'm gonna. Okay, so Tamsin has 2 questions. I have 2 questions, but I will be happy with either question of your choosing. The first one is, I would love to know where I am headed in my own business. And the second question is, I lost triplets and I wonder, will I ever have the opportunity to fall pregnant again? Okay, so these are questions, reading questions, and the kind of questions that I am open to tonight are more not about not asking for a reading, but asking me questions about myself personally, or my journey with tarot, or any of these books, or maybe requests for things to do in my videos, that kind of thing. And Tamsin, what I can say to you is that next time I do live readings, I'm definitely going to do live readings next week. I'll make sure I'll message you and I'll let you know what time I'm doing it. And then we'll make sure to get your reading done, one of your questions during that live, okay? Or of course, you can book a private with me, but I will be doing live readings next week. Okay, so Karen Mahoney. This is Baba Studios. Baba Studios decks, of course, are not accessible to everybody because, of course, they're very expensive. However, saying that, this guidebook that came with the Alice Tarot, and I know that this one is out of print right now, is so amazing. I was so impressed with this guidebook. And because I was so impressed with this particular guidebook, I definitely would purchase the extra guidebook with any Baba Studios deck. I mean, if you're spending that much money anyway, why not? Why not get the book? Because I'm really sorry about this. This video is probably going to get a whole bunch of thumbs down for the lighting. Anyway, so what I like about this book is her thoroughness. And she does this beautiful job of weaving the Alice stories with more traditional Rider-Waite-Smith meanings. And so both of them are thoroughly included in this guidebook. And I do not have any other Baba decks. So I don't know what she does with the Tarot of Prague and so forth in the guidebook. But in this particular book, and if she does reprint it, if they do reprint it at some point, also at the back of the book, she has the cards in order that they come in the story. So for example, so she's got the whole telling of Alice in Wonderland. So this is basically a shortened version of the Alice in Wonderland story. And then these are the cards that represent that aspect of the story. So it's just absolutely brilliant. And so, so I would purchase a Baba's. If I ever buy another Baba deck, I will definitely purchase the other guidebook. So yeah. Okay. So many books here. I've shown you this one before, but this one is I love this book. This is one of my favorite extra books. You can see how big it is. It's like a children's book. And the thing that I like about this book, so Barbara Moore did a fantastic job with the guidebook for the Shadowscapes Tarot, but this book is actually written by Stephanie Guimun Law herself. And so we get to hear about the creation of the artwork through her own language and through her words. And so here, I'll just show you. So I showed you this page, which has the color And the other nice thing, this is only for the majors though. So this is only about 22 cards. It's not the whole deck. And then she shows the evolution of each of the drawings and the different versions that they took. So I really, really like this book. And it wasn't too expensive. It's $20 US. And I purchased it on Amazon. It'd be really nice eventually if she did that for the rest of the deck too. That is also one of my favorite decks that I will never stop using. I absolutely love the Shadowscapes Tarot. I find it just reads so beautifully. So here's an example of a deck creator that created a PDF where I had the PDF printed because the PDF was so freaking amazing. So amazing. Now, Robin Cole, I believe that my Kickstarter fund, it went through. So the Oracle deck that she is creating is coming out very soon. And so followed behind that will be a second edition of the beautiful Rebellion Tarot, which is a curated deck. And so what I want to show you here is in the guidebook, she has the full painting. And so for each of the tarot cards, she had to choose a piece of the painting. But in the guidebook, you get the full painting. And sometimes that reveals so much more. So here is the King of Pentacles, which is a full landscape painting. And I just love the way that it is. I'm going to read this one to you because it's so beautiful. And I really like it when a deck creator uses men and women for kings and queens, because I think it's important that we understand that each of these court cards is about an energy, right? It's not about a gender identification. And this deck does a really good job with that. And I was reading a few other books today too, and it makes me happy. Oh, I know it's going through the Druid Craft. I'm going to show you that in a moment, the Druid Craft Tarot. And that is one of the points that the guidebook writers make, is that the Princess of Cups can easily be an older man, right? It depends. We all possess these qualities within us. But anyway, I wanted to share with you this. So the keywords for the King of Pentacles are provider, successful, materialistic, practical, responsible, authoritative, and wealthy. Oh, and she also has a beautiful quote for each of them. And if you're quote collectors, this is a really good source of that. And then she calls them curator's notes. If there ever was someone secure in their personal power, it would be the King of Pentacles, represented in the beautiful Rebellion by Dixie's beautiful Layla. The king is the ruler of her own life and likely of those whose lives cross hers. She is a grand matron, the provider for the manse. Does she need a husband to provide for her? Hell no. Her sharp mind has brought her to a place of material wealth and security. She has all she needs and more. And she's not shy of showing it. She's really actually so seductive. So I like that she's included like the reason why she chose the painting. So that makes this, I don't know, I haven't had this book out for a little while. I might actually read more of this later. Look at this Ace of Wands painting. Isn't that gorgeous? Yeah. Doing something like this, kind of a show and tell like this tonight, it's gonna make me pull out some of these decks again. That's the trouble of having so many decks, is we put some away and then we forget how amazing they are, and we need to do something like this to encourage ourselves to bring them back out again. Okay. Can you purchase it in book form or only in PDF? So for the Beautiful Rebellion, I do not know what's happening with the new edition. So you'll the author's name is, the creator's name is Robin L. Cole, and you would have to go to her website and look for that. So yeah, I'm going to leave those for now. I have a whole bunch more in this category, but it is already 6:35. So I'm going to go to some other books, and maybe I'll come back to this category because there's quite a few decks. Well, I'm going to do one more. So the other kind of issue is when you have an option of buying the cards in the big box, and I'm thinking of, like this is Druidcraft, or you can buy the cards, and usually this is later, sometime later after they come out, you can buy them, the cards in a small box. And I think it really depends on the deck, but definitely for the Druid Craft Tarot, the Druid Plant Oracle, the Druid Animal Oracle, I always recommend to go for the big guidebook, and I'm going to show you why. Because there's so much information. So let's have a look. I've just flipped open to the Magician. And okay, here's something else. So suppose you don't like these big boxes. You don't like the big books. One of the things that they did a really good job with in this little book is they included the longer descriptions about like all the intros of each chapter. So in this book, you get all the intros of all the chapters. And what you don't get is the longer descriptions for each of the cards. So for example, here you have all the twos on one page. So it's really nicely organized, but you don't get a lot of information. So I'm just going to go to this one that I have open here, the Magician. Okay, just so you can see. Just in case you never thought about this, because this is an awesome guidebook. So that's what you get in the little book for the Magician. And then this is the big guidebook. So you get that. And then another almost full page. And it is just chock full of juicy tidbits. Like this is such a good guidebook. Same with the plant one. I absolutely love the plant and the animal oracle. I just find them a wealth of information, and definitely worth the trouble of either making a tarot bag because you don't like the big boxes. And then what I tend to do is put these in my bookshelf, and then I put all the oversized boxes into a box in the garage, and I make a bag for the decks. Oh, and guess what? I am going to do a tarot bag video. I'm actually going to film it maybe tomorrow. I'm actually teaching my daughters how I make bags, and they're going to make them for some of their things. So we're going to do a video. So yeah, so that'll be fun. I've never done that kind of a video before, so I thought I would share that with you. All right. Let us go on then. Leave that pile. Have you ever bought a book? I actually have quite a few regrettable purchases here. Really kind of worth, I don't know where I'm looking, really kind of worth the while to do some research before you buy books, especially if you're buying big, expensive books. So what I'm going to show you next, if you saw the thumbnail, are these three. Do any of you have these? These are by Lo Scarabeo. And if you like hardcover, glossy resource books, coffee table type books. They're beautiful. They're really, really beautiful. So this is the first one that I purchased. I purchased number 3 first. And I was so impressed with this book. So in this, I'm going to damage it holding it up. So in this book, it's full of juicy information about the connections of the Tree of Life and the paths of all of the cards on the Tree of Life. Actually, I should go to the table of contents. So many good things in this book. Okay. So this book, it starts with the Kabbalah and it starts with the Tree of Life. There is a chapter on alchemy, astrology, numerology, advanced techniques, and advanced spreads. And the thing I like about this book is it's just full of things that I don't know where in the world I would learn or read about anywhere else. I was so impressed. Like I said, this was the first one that I got. So here's an example of some of the stuff they have for the cards. So in this one, I believe, so there's a section, the key to the major arcana, and they have alchemical symbols for each of them. There's a musical note associated. There's just so much juicy information. There's a herbal attribution, magical use, path color, Hebrew letter. Yeah, it's really, really, really fun. Anyway, so then I thought, okay, I need to buy the whole collection. Well, the truth is you don't need the whole collection if you have a bunch of other tarot books. That third book is full of so much awesome information. I found that the first and the second book were kind of disappointing. They were, yeah, maybe if I didn't have so many other tarot books, they were, they're okay. So I'm going to show you one here. And there's nothing wrong with this book, but it's because I do have other tarot books. So here is the description for the Sun card. And one of the nice things is that you get to see many different decks pictured here. So you saw 3 on that page. And then on the other page here, there's another 10 cards, another 10 Sun cards. But the descriptions, hi Ange, the descriptions are quite thin, shall we say? So that it goes through all 78 of the cards. And then there are a few other tidbits as well too. I mean, it's really cool, but if you're just going to buy one of them, I would buy the third one. Now I'm looking at it, I'm thinking, oh my God, I need to reread the first book and the third book. And there's a section on reading for yourself. And I think one of the things I picked up out of this book, I should read this. I'm going to mark this page. This one is called Court Card Strategies. I'll just share this with you. Court cards often represent a suggestion regarding a helpful strategy or behavior in regard to a situation. Many courts of the same rank appearing in a spread may be interpreted as questions to ask the querent to help him find a strategy to cope with the current situation. So let's go to the Kings. So the strategy for the kings: highlight the need to exercise control and invite the querent to ask, what limits should I impose? What obligations should I impose? What rules would make the situation easier to manage? And how can I control this? So the thing I don't like about this book is all these kind of weird pictures of people doing unusual things to try to explain the point. These books are actually holding up quite well. So here's an example. This is the second book, right? So there's lots of photographs of things that aren't really tarot-like. And here's one of the chapter covers for the second book, The Art of Spreads. So it's a great series. It's just, it takes up a lot of bookshelf. It takes up a lot of room on your bookshelf. If you only want to purchase one, I would choose the third one. But I'd say all in all, pretty awesome. Yeah. It looks like a school book. Yeah, stock pictures. It's kind of weird, that they would include stock pictures. Okay, I'm going to have a sip of tea. How are you guys? How are you doing? I just, sometimes, that's one of the nice things about Zoom, is because after the yoga class, I can have a chat with people and hear their voices. Okay, so I'm sure a few of you have this one. This is a fantastic book. Even if you don't have the Deviant Moon or you don't like the Deviant Moon, this is a crazy good book. And maybe, hi Paula, and maybe if you if you read this book, you would really kind of understand the Deviant Moon a lot more. Yeah, it's really, and I'm going to show you. So there's a picture of Patrick when he was little at his drawing table. It's such a good book. Again, I haven't pulled this one out for a while. And then look, so here is the page for the Fool. And then you get to see other, it's like in that Shadowscapes book I showed you, there's other incarnations of the Fool, and then you get the background story on the Fool, as well as lots of other artwork. So this book, now I don't know what year I got this. It says, oh, the price isn't on the back, but it's by US Games. It's really something. And then it's got that gold sticker. Such a beautiful book. Yes. And I don't have like Mildred Payne Pocket Oracle. I do have the Marseille deck, the Triomphe de la Luna. I have a couple versions of that, but I don't have the Pocket Oracle or those ones. And they're not decks that I use a lot. But when I have a book like this, or sometimes I just like to, I don't know, don't you get tired of watching a screen? Sometimes it's just really nice to have a nice solid book in your hand. And I really don't like if I'm actually going to read a novel, I would much rather have the paper in my hands than to read it on my phone or on a tablet, for sure. So yeah. Okay. Slowly going through the pile here. Just like the Robin Wood deck, I want the book, and it isn't easy to find. Ooh, okay, let's go to that one. It's not easy to find, huh? Well, you can see mine is in pretty rough shape. So you're talking about this book here? So yeah, this is a great reference book, even if you don't have the Robin Wood Tarot. And it also, if you are considering creating your own deck, if you're considering being involved in the creation of a deck, just reading at the beginning her story of how she created her deck and the process of it and everything that she went through. Now, granted, this was a long time ago and things are much different now, but just the journey of creating a tarot deck, I love that story. It's a really beautiful story. And the thing I don't like is she does go into a lot of detail about every single symbol in every single card. And you know, I don't tend to read that way. Like, for example, I mean, these are not colored pictures, but on the Queen of Swords cape, this is such a gorgeous card. I love that one. Are all these butterflies. And so what might happen in a reading is the butterflies on the Queen of Swords' cape may connect with the butterflies in another card or other cards. And so those butterflies might tell a story, or the clouds might tell a story. But I'm not one to, in a reading, to analyze all the details of every single symbol in the card. I tend to let the story flow and look at the facings and look at, I don't know, just the energy. Yeah, but this is, if you can find this book, it's a really, really good book to buy. Yeah. And there's, you know what, there's a few, I don't know what, I don't know how I feel. Like, I haven't really done a video where I go like, this book is a thumbs down, this book is a thumbs up, because pretty much every one that I've shown you has been a thumbs up, except for, I said that there's a couple of PDFs that I would not buy the print version of because it's just not special enough. So that's not really a thumbs down. It's just saying don't waste your money to buy the print version of the PDF. So why you think Moon Tarot is a good deck? What kind of reading do you use it for? Oh, the Deviant Moon. So the Deviant Moon. Well, I guess that's a good question, Nora. That's a good question. I'm going to go to a particular card and then I'll show you. So one of the things, so the use of color in this deck is brilliant. If you like to work with color, and if you do like a 9-card spread, and you can have a look at the use of color through the deck, it's really powerful in that way. So so for example, so here's a card. This is the 6 of Swords. And one of the things I really like is you can see the aftermath of the 5 of Swords here. And in a lot of the cards, there is some really interesting information. So here's the 8 of Wands. So in the 8 of Wands, we have, which is more of a traditional meaning, is that the 8 of Wands is about a message. And so we have that here. And then a lot of people associate the 8 of Wands more with swiftness. And so with the scythe quickly cutting all of those wands that are there, we get both messages with that card. And for sure, it's a bizarre deck. And I tend to use it in the fall. And I would use it with a client who has an inclination for things that are just a little different, like it's really, especially if you know people and you do multiple readings for the same person month after month or a few times a year, you kind of get to know their energy and what they're like. And also, if you have several different decks are going to tap at their, I was going to say their crap. Like some people love to come to a tarot reading and it's just for entertainment. But for me, I really like to be there in service to help people. And so I need to, I feel that I need to choose a deck that's going to press their buttons a little more. And if they have been avoiding their stuff, this deck is a really interesting way to press at their buttons. It's definitely a button pusher, if you know what I mean. So, yeah. Patrick's decks. It's a very interesting collection, and his website is pretty interesting as well too. Okay, so where was I going? So I was talking about books that I'm pretty ambivalent about. Sorry, I didn't unplug the house phone. So this is a newer book. This is Ethany's book, Your Tarot Court. It's a book all about the court cards. And it has some interesting bits to it. And I find that, and Ethany uses her, so for example, here she's got her own deck, and then she's using the steampunk as an example for the King of Pentacles. And one of the things that she does do is she explains each of the court cards as an archetype. But I find in this book, it's quite narrow. So for example, the archetype of the King of Pentacles is a manager. And so I'll just show you in case you don't have this book. So you can see here, manager. And then down here, she talks about how he is going to behave in love and relationships. And work and career. And then there are some points for his strengths and weaknesses. And then if we go to the back of the book, I'm just going to go to the same one. So here at the back, we have the King of Pentacles, the manager. And she has Jules Austin, from The Intern, and Scrooge McDuck, and Ebenezer Scrooge, and other managers are Ron Swanson and Dwight Schrute and Michael Scott, The Office. And so she brings in a lot of pop culture names to help bring in the energy of each of the court cards. Unfortunately, I don't know a lot of her references. I don't know the movie, I don't know the book or the song. And so if you don't understand the references, you would have a lot of movies to watch or a lot of things to look up. So if you are familiar with the references that she uses, then I would say that it's going to be really, really helpful. There's another cool feature at the back of the book too. And I don't know what you would do with this, but she's created a bingo game. And in the bingo game, she is asking you to think of a person to represent each of these qualities. And I'm just checking here. Oh no, they're all the same. So you would print these, and then you could play a bingo game with your tarot friends. And you would need to write down somebody who you associated with each of those court cards. So there's a few fun, quirky things here. And I'm going to go to that King of Pentacles again because there's one more thing at the back. I bought this book because Ethany is from Vancouver. I was curious about the book. I find it more quirky than anything else. Page of Pentacles, Queen of Pentacles, King of Pentacles. Okay, so here's the other thing. So down here, she has questions and exercises for each of them. So the King of Pentacles, how can I bring more physical stability into my life? How can I bring more emotional stability into my life? And are these the same questions? No, they're not. They're different questions for each one. So the questions are meant to prompt the strengths and the weaknesses of each of the courts. So yeah, so this is a fairly new book. I got it last year. Yeah, I'm going to save the Marseille books for after. How are we doing for time? We're at an hour. Okay. This one was a really quick read. It's kind of fun. And again, I found it quite simplistic, so you don't get a lot of information. And I'll share with you the kind of the mood of this book. So for the Two of Cups, Melissa says, this is a partnership. I've got your back. You've got mine. This is a fantastic card to get for a couple because it's truly about coexisting and support. The cups are balanced, quite lovely, actually. This is the card I like to see for relationships. The Lovers is just so intense. There's nothing wrong with intense relationships, but oftentimes they catch fire and burn out. This card, the Two of Cups, shows an immense amount of trust, compassion, and true partnership. This is the couple or pair of friends who high five after everything. They have each other's backs and they are a true team in a relationship. It's the friend you've always wanted paired with the lover you didn't know you were always looking for. And then there's a short description for the reverse message as well too. And I'll just show you for the majors. I've only read this book once, so and it was a while ago. So the key phrase is, I am rebuilding. And so I can just see here, she's got a little bit of historical reference to the card. And then you've got a page and a half. And then another full page for the tower. For the tower inverted. Yeah. So I only read it once and I didn't go back to it. Maybe I will. But I love the kind of I bought it because I like the vibe, you know, pull up a chair, shuffle the cards, and let's talk tarot. Because I want tarot to be accessible. I want tarot to be accessible for people that I do readings for. I love doing in-person readings and I love teaching tarot, and I love doing the tarot workshops that I do, like hand in hand with people and getting people to touch cards and learning how to shuffle cards, and it's just so much fun. And so I liked the vibe of this book, and that's why I bought that book. And similarly, if you haven't read Bacara's book, so I got Bacara's book before I bought her deck. This is the creator of the Way Home Tarot. And this book is so funny. It is so funny. My favorite part of this book is the chapter on the court cards. And so if you don't have this book, she has drawn, who's the artist? It's the same artist, Autumn Whitehurst. So there's a house. So that's the house for the Wands family. And she talks about them. Here's the house for the Swords family. And she talks about the dynamics and the relationship in very contemporary terms. And it's so funny. Okay, so I'm going to read you one just because. I'll read you one introduction. Okay, so this is the Swords family. When you seek out the Swords family house, you end up in the suburbs, in a neighborhood chosen for its low crime rate and excellent public school system. Dinner consists of protein, vegetable, and starch, and is on the table at 6:30 p.m. every night. It's pretty good. It would be better with wine, but there is none in this house. The conversation is perfunctory and polite, consisting of summarizing their day and goings on at school and work. No voices raised. Dinner ends at 7:15, by which time you're really, really fucking bored. Routine and structure are the backbones of this family makeup, and the environment can feel severe, dry, and strict. So you get the gist. It's such a good read. It's such a good read. And this book, I tell you what, if I ever write a tarot book, I'm going to use this publisher. This is one of those books that you can, it stays open, that the seams are beautifully sewn. It's got that nice, not shiny, not like really nice paper. Oh my God, like the construction of this book is brilliant. The printer is Page Street Publishing. Premium binding, stays open, hands-free. You know, I like it. I really like books and I love it. Yeah. So there's so many funny stories in this book of all of the kind of contemporary tarot books that I have. This is my favorite because it's so darn funny. And I've had this book out in public a few times reading it, and most of the chapter titles include the F word. And so people often look over your shoulder and like wonder what the heck you are reading. Yeah. I've shown you this one before. I find this is a brilliant, brilliant book. And this was one of my first tarot books. I wonder if the year is on here. I know it's still available. I have seen it. It was 18 Canadian dollars when I bought it. 1997. And I know it's still in print. So yeah. And the reason I like this book is because she brings in Isabel Kliegman. Let's see, I'll go to the page. Like I was showing you in the third, the big books that I was showing you. So she does a really good job of bringing in the relationship to the energy of the cards with the Tree of Life. And, oh, I hope I can find the page. She also brings in the chakra system. And she talks about the sacraments as well, too, I believe. Anyway, really good book. Strongly, I recommend this book a lot. Okay. How are we for time? Is that enough? I think I should do one more because I haven't even shown you my collection of Marseille books. Got a couple of crappy ones here. I mean, this is a good book. Everybody should have this book. Yeah, I think, I don't know. I'll do one Marseille book. So I have several Tarot de Marseille reference books. And I think this one is definitely worth a read. And even if you don't read with Tarot de Marseille, this book is a really nice reference to give you the courage to understand that it's not about a degree in numerology, and that in the simplicity of the color and in the expressions and the movement of the bodies, there is a lot of information. And sometimes we don't need to make the cards so complicated. You'll find that in a lot of the Tarot de Marseille books, there is a lot of underhanded comments about the Thoth system and about the Rider-Waite-Smith system and about systems that have come after the Tarot de Marseille. And I find that for me, the information that I gain from a book like this makes me a better reader of other systems as well too. And I find that I'm able to integrate this information. So this book is not just about, reading the Tarot de Marseille. It's about making yourself a more well-versed reader of other systems as well too. And I'm going to share one thing from here because I really like this. So my favorite part of Jodorowsky's book is he has at the end of every single card, it says, and if justice spoke, this is what justice would say. And some of them are really quite funny. So I'm going to pick one. I'm just going to weave through the book here and pick one. Oh, this is really brilliant too. Well, anyway, maybe I'll do a part 2 of this at some point. I think I've read some of these for you. Okay. Well, just pick one, Sadhana. Let's do the Hermit. And I'm not going to read the whole thing because it's quite long, but I'm just going to give you a flavor for the energy in this book. And if the Hermit spoke, I have arrived at the end of my path, there where the unthinkable presents itself like an abyss. Faced by this nothingness, I can no longer move forward. All I can do is retreat. While contemplating the road I have already traveled, with every step I take backward, I form a reality before me. Between life and death, in a continual crisis, I hold up my lit lamp, my consciousness. It serves me well, of course, to guide the steps of those following me upon the path I have opened, but it also shines to draw attention to myself. I have performed the spiritual labor I had to do. Now, O infinite mystery, come to my aid. Little by little, I have freed myself of all bonds. And it goes on. This one's not funny. This one's quite serious because the Hermit's quite a serious card, but some of the ones for the court cards are hilarious. I just love the way he talks about the personalities. So yeah. So I think I'll stop for tonight. That's enough. That's enough books. I've got a big mess of books on the floor to clean up. So, I have a question. There we go. What do you like about that deck? I struggle with the images. Okay, so I haven't. So Tamsin, can you say which deck? Because I don't know how long ago you wrote that question. Okay. I'm going to go back. Paula says there are loads of Marseille books if you want more in-depth info. Untold Tarot. I'll have to go back and look at this. Okay. I'm not certain. Are you talking about Jodorowsky's deck? or just the Tarot de Marseille in general? Sadhana, what do you like about that deck? I struggle with the images. So if you're talking about the Tarot de Marseille in general, what do I like about it? What do I like about it? So I love the pip cards. That's what I like about it. Like you said, I struggle with images. I'm not crazy about the major arcana. I have a hard time with all those nipples and the weirdness of it, right? There's definitely a weirdness to it. But I love the minor arcana. The minor arcana. There's something about looking at, so sometimes when we see a progression of numbers, like we see 5, 6, 8, so that the answer is there's more that's coming. We're moving in a certain direction. There is an expansiveness and a limitedness. The way the shapes of the pip cards create a shape is really fascinating. Like they create these little mandalas. And I love looking at the way the different swirls move. I love the twos. Like the Two of Pentacles is my favorite card in the Tarot de Marseille, usually because it's signed by the artist and there's something very special about it. So my favorite Tarot de Marseille are Tarot des Zohar by Laurie LePage. I hope that's coming out again. I saw somebody recently said they just ordered it, and maybe I have the wrong link for Printer Studio. Is it Printer Studio? Anyway, Tarot des Zohar by Laurie LePage is one of my favorites. And I think my second favorite is, it's definitely not this one. I think my second favorite is, Maria Celia, Tarot de Maria Celia. I really like that one. Yeah. Some of the older ones are just a little strange. They're, straight up Tarot de Marseille. But I find that the reference books are really good. And I have quite a collection of them here. And I mentioned a few weeks back that I strongly recommend watching Tarology, or if you haven't watched it in a while, to re-watch Tarology by Enrique Enriquez. It's an awesome eye into the Tarot de Marseille. And I see Jen has a question. My question is purely just curiosity. I know you've done a lot of training and certification, so I was wondering in which practice training certification it was that you got your name Sadhana. So, I got a sunburn today. Look at me. Whew. Had a beautiful day here in British Columbia. So, my given name at birth is Susan. And Sadhana was given to me by Swami Satsangi at Rikyapit in India. So when I started my yoga not when I started it, somewhere in the middle of my yoga journey, I went to a workshop. It was a chakra workshop. And I met someone who is now my teacher, one of my teachers. She lives in I've talked about her before. She lives in the southeast corner of British Columbia. She has an ashram in the Purcell Mountains. Anyway, I met her at a yoga conference in Whistler, and she was dressed in Swami gear. She was, I don't know, not the only one, but definitely one of the few people who weren't wearing Lululemon at this conference. And I was so intrigued with her workshops. And at that time, I was going through a really hard time, and I connected with her and I started doing training with her. And so as my relationship developed with her and I really liked her teachings, then I decided to become initiated into the Satyananda lineage. And so when I was in India, I had my initiation. So in that tradition, the first step is mantra initiation. And so you're given a mantra, a personal mantra, which you practice every day. You're given a mala and a mantra, and you have an option to be given a spiritual name as well too. And I had my spiritual name given to me at that time. And so Swami Satsangi gave me the name Sadhana. And then when you go through your subsequent initiations, the Swami can change your name depending on, because the mantra that you're given and the name that you're given is part of your soul journey. And so occasionally, as people go through the different initiations, the different processes of the sun is called sannyas program. So yeah, sometimes your name can change. But when I did my next initiation, my name didn't change. So I'm still Sadhana. And I don't know if that will ever change. And I may go back and become a karma sannyas. We'll see. Anyway, yeah, so that's kind of a long answer. All right. So I love the clean readings it provides. Yeah, it is very clean. I love the pip cards. That's definitely my favorite. Marshmallow is very cute. Marshmallow feels nice in the hands, right? Because it's just a little deck. It was snowing here in eastern part of Canada today. Oh my God. Yeah, I know. Weather is crazy in the spring in Canada. You're welcome. You're welcome, Jen. It makes me want to go back to the ashram. I wish I could go every year. I really do, but it's just, yeah, it's a long journey. And now I'm single, so I'm not traveling as much as I would like to. All right. So yeah, so I'm going to sign off. I wish you all well this week. And I filmed a couple of videos and I just haven't posted them. I told you my kids are here and life is busy and we've got so many projects going on, and I will be posting a couple of pre-recorded videos this week, as well as recording my tarot bag video. So if any of you sewers are out there or aspiring sewers, I'm going to share that one. Yeah. So I want to wish you well, stay well, and look after yourselves and your families, and stay in touch. And I look forward to chatting with you, as always, in the comments. Bye.